My name is Joe Lassiter. I teach at the Harvard Business School. I'm in the Entrepreneurial Management Unit. That's a group that studies the formation and financing of new ventures. Most of the time it's new companies. For the last 10 years or so, I've primarily worked in the area of clean tech and new energy. And by new energy, I mean the kind of traditional areas of energy that are being redone, areas like fracking for natural gas, areas like generation for nuclear power plants, even areas like solar geoengineering, where there's a lot of interaction between how you develop those businesses, what society wants to have happen, and how you finance those businesses. In general, there's a lot of tension between kind of two different needs. One is providing low-cost energy to the world, and in particular those parts of the world which do not have reliable access to power. Remember, probably 1 billion people went to sleep in the dark last night. And the most proven trajectory towards kind of satisfaction is supplying people with electrical power. So that's one drive. How do you get cheap, low-cost energy? And then the other drive is how do you do it in such a way that the impacts, climate impacts, security impacts on nations don't result in tremendous compromises in your ability to supply that power for development. Obviously, climate emissions, or CO2 emissions, is probably the largest one that's talked about today. But in developing countries, local pollution, as you see in Beijing or in New Delhi, is probably even a more imminent problem. And then security of supply, as you see in Europe today with concern over natural gas supplies from Russia influencing political decisions, is yet another dimension. So somehow you've got to get security, pollution / climate change, and low cost all resolved at the same time. And that's extremely demanding technical problem, an extremely demanding political problem. The basic objective of the Harvard Innovation Lab is to help students learn how to put their ideas to use so that you have the know-how and to some extent the courage to take an idea that you have at some point in time in your life and actually turn those bits into atoms and make real things happen. And those real things could be technology ventures, they could be something in the area of social impact ventures. It could be political campaigns. It's anything where you try to take an idea and bring it to purpose. So the iLab is here to help students do that. And by the way, graduate students and postdocs, and even faculty. And our objective is not to help people launch ventures per se, but to put them in a position to launch a venture when they choose to. And that could be in their sophomore year in college, or it could be when they're 40. We primarily want them to be educated both in the technique and in the mindset to put their ideas to use. Typically, I think it means coming up with a new solution to a problem. Sometimes that comes from the identification of a new solution. Literally, sometimes it comes with the identification of a new problem or new opportunity. So there's a chicken and egg thing there. But innovation is coming up with something that people need, typically in anticipation, and then ultimately commercializing that in some way so that it can be put to use by people, so that the innovation does not stay solely in the mind of the creator. But just so much has changed. I mean, the big changes that I think you see every day is the continual expansion of how low-cost computing affects everything that we do. You see that in the internet, you see that in the controversies about spying and privacy, you see that in the computation that takes place in the life sciences in sequencing. You see it in your ability to launch and fly a drone and then take the picture and put it up on something to show to your friends halfway around the world. So certainly around computing and around data handling has been a huge change. The second big change, I think, is the globalization of things. Increasingly, you even see it here in the iLab. You have a team that's here in Boston and somewhere in South America implementing their products someplace in South Africa, or Southern Africa, literally. That happens to be an example of Entrepreneurial Finance Lab, one of the ventures out of the iLab. So, but that globalization of things and the ability for the choices of one nation and the strengths and weaknesses of one nation to sweep across national borders and create issues for all nations to confront. And then I think the third is the explosion in the life sciences. The tremendous kind of awareness of the complexity of life and the steady but still quite daunting progress of turning all of that insight into things that we can use with confidence and manipulate safely. But the life sciences have made stunning progress, even for those of us who have a tough time understanding the words. It's always both a threat and a benefit. There has never been a technology that did not bring with it pluses and minuses, and the impact of those pluses and minuses are very different for different segments of society. The word Luddite, I think, has its origins in Scotland, when people threw sandals, wooden sandals, into machinery, fighting the mechanization of the weaving process. So every technology changes things, and change brings pluses and minuses in some remarkably unfair ways. But in spite of all that, I remain basically a technology optimist, that most of man's progress, not all of it, is going to be facilitated by technological change. And man, I hope, has the wisdom to manage that change in ways that are constructive. Unfortunately, I doubt if it's monotonic. But I believe the change will continue to come, and we will continue to struggle to learn how to manage it for the benefit of mankind, dealing with both the people that it helps a lot and dealing with both the people that it harms. Usually small companies and large companies work in symbiosis with one another. There are small companies that literally destroy large existing organizations. There are other small companies which are absorbed into large existing organizations and are, as a result, expand much more rapidly and become much more pervasive. I happen to be most interested in the small company side of things. It's not morally superior. It just happens to be what I like and what I enjoy. An economist, an Austrian economist named Schumpeter, who also came to Harvard, invented an idea called creative destruction. Essentially, that the future was born out of the destruction of the present. But some people will find their future in large companies and be happy there, and some in small. I like small companies. What? Because they typically are involved in new ideas and small teams that are bound together to pursue something ambitious, and I enjoy that. There's an excitement in the new things that happen every day. Oh, I don't know that I can think ahead 10 years. I would never have imagined the last 10 years. And I'm quite sure I won't imagine the next 10 with great accuracy. So again, I favor the entrepreneurial method. You make small experiments and you try to rapidly exploit the experiments which yield positive results, and you try to rapidly abandon the ones that generate negative results. I look at the world today, though, and I think this is an infinitely better world than the world faced in 1914 or 1939. And so I remain optimistic that somehow humanity will be smart enough to keep itself from doing really stupid things.